The work of the I.A.O. was greeted by the Speaker of the Hellenic Parliament, the Archbishop of Athens, the Dean of the University of Athens. Then Milan, March 2022, on the sideline of the works of our international Secretariat, we presented the Italian version of the volume in Galleria Meravigli, with the presence of the Deputy Minister, Mr. Bruno Tabacci, Metropolitan Polikarpos, who also addressed welcomed the initiative of our organization. Then Florence, May 2022, the volume was presented in the auditorium of the School of Theology of Central Italy in Florence, with the participation of the Cardinal Giuseppe Bettori and also renowned professors. The Demoticho, July 2022, the volume was presented outside the church of Panagia Eleftherotia, with the presence of key figures from the political, academic and religious community of the area. And then Venice, August 2022, the volume was presented in the context of the 24th International Conference for Byzantine Studies, organized by the Greek Institute of Byzantine and Post-Byzantine Studies of Venice, in the presence of distinguished Byzantinologists from different countries. Then Karlsruhe, September 2022, the volume was presented in a specially arranged place in the context of the 11th Assembly of the World Council of Churches. Even the fact that the volume was presented in the context of the World Council of Churches witnesses the prestige of the I.A.O, something that was confirmed also during the event by the Secretary General of the World Council of Churches himself, Dr. Ioan Saouka, with the presence of representatives from all churches. I cannot see Mr. Kawas among us here. And then here, September 2022, the event took place in the presence of the Deputy Secretary General of the I.A.O, Dr. Andreas Michailidis, the Metropolitan of Chios, Mr. Marcos, and indeed the local Archbishop, recognizing the contribution of the I.A.O, has praised our work by awarding the Golden Cross of St. Isidoros to our organization, a very honoring award which encourages us to continue fighting for our objectives, knowing that we have gained the trust of the political and religious authorities of the Orthodox world. Then Thessaloniki, October 2022, in the historic city of Thessaloniki, we presented the volume on the outdoor space of the Museum for Byzantine Civilization, with representatives from the political, academic and religious community of the area.
Bucharest, December 2022. Upon invitation by the head of the Romanian delegation in the I.A.O, MP Ioan Vulpescu, we organized the presentation of the volume very successfully in the Romanian Parliament. Addresses were sent by the advisor of the President of Romania, Sergei Nistor, the advisor to the Prime Minister on issues and subjects of education and research, the philosophy professor Sorin Kostrei, Vice President of the Parliament Mr. Vasiole Suciu, Vice President of the Academy of Romania, and former Minister of Culture Professor Emil Teodorescu, and representative of the Patriarch of the Church of Romania. And the Speaker of the Parliament, in a private discussion, thanked us for our action and initiative to bring forth the Hagia Sophia issue. Basel, January 2023, we presented the volume together with the local Holy Church of Hagia Sophia in Basel, and the introduction was made by the historian Dr. Kraft. Rome, February 2023, the presentation of the volume in Rome took place within the La Sapienza University, the greatest university of Europe. London, February 2023. We actually took the volume as far as the British Isle. We presented our publication at the center of London in the Hagia Sophia Church, and that event we had many personalities of the academia, among whom the British historian Richard Clogg, whom we honored for his offer to the sciences and literature. Limassol, April 2023, the margin of our work of the enlarged International Secretariat, we organized in cooperation with the Parliament of Cyprus one of the most successful presentations of the volume in the holy metropolis of Limassol. Warsaw, May 2023. There was a happy coincidence there, the inauguration of the newly built Church of Hagia Sophia, the Holy Wisdom of God in Warsaw, and there was a representation of the I.A.O. led by Panicos Leonidou for the presentation of the Polish edition of the volume. Very successful presentation. Peloponnese, May 2023. The presentation took place in the historical site of Mistras on the occasion of the commemoration events for the fall of Constantinopolis and the last Byzantine emperor, Constantine Palaiologos, who is known in history as the King of Marble. Budapest, June 2023. I want to thank Mr. Laokratis for his contribution to the presentation of the volume in Hungary, Budapest, and during which we also met with the Speaker of the country's parliament, and we received an invitation for the holding of an international secretariat meeting in Budapest sometime in the future. Dear colleagues, there have been 20-odd presentations of the volumes to date, and I want to actually here mention the help, the assistance, the support on behalf of the Hellenic Parliament, and the printings in the Greek, Italian, English language have been paid by the Hellenic Parliament, and in Romania they printed out and paid for 3,000 copies of the Romanian edition, and we want to thank them very warmly for that. And again, the Cypriot Republic helped us a lot, and I want to thank the President, the Speaker of the Parliament of the Cypriot Republic for the printing out of an important number of volumes. The historical decision of our organization to take up such an a campaign for the information of the public opinion with its volume for the churches of Hagia Sophia. I will tell you more about this. Now, third international contest, photography contest based on with the topic of churches of the Holy Wisdom of God. When in the I.A.O we undertake an initiative, we try to bring to the fore as many dimensions of this initiative as we can. And the same thing happened with the churches of Hagia Sophia. The contest was declared in January 2021 for two types of churches dedicated to the Holy Wisdom of God. That is, churches monuments that were erected until 1907, and second, newer temples, newer churches that were erected from 1907 to date. The evaluation of the participants in cooperation with the website Orthonet was completed in October 2021. There were 140 contestants from 21 countries that submitted their photographic material to be evaluated. There is an international evaluation committee, 11-member committee, and there were 8 winners that were awarded their prizes from the I.A.O and the respective, the corresponding sums. In fact, our photographic material is very rich, and we make sure that we can exhibit it with whenever there is another event for the presentation of the volume of Hagia Sophia's. You will agree with me, I'm certain, ladies and gentlemen, that our cooperation with other international organizations and fora is a crucial factor for the fruition of our aims. And in this framework, we made progress in the previous time. As I mentioned, we participated in the works of the 11th Assembly of the World Council of Churches in Germany, and we sent also a delegation to the ICLN meeting in Rome 2021. But also the General Assembly of Crete, there was also, it was the group, the working group of the I.A.O with the Catholic legislators. In our discussion turned around topics that are of common interest to both of us, like such as the Christian identity of the European continent, the future of geographically united Europe and politically united Europe without exclusions of European peoples, and so on and so forth. And we went to also the holy monastery of the Virgin Mother of Grotta Ferrata. It was with satisfaction that I saw that the World Interparliamentary Union of Greeks Abroad is on our side. We had and we have regular contacts with the office, the bureau of this organization, and we know that they are present in the United States of America, Canada, Australia, Albania, and I see Mr. Dule here, who is member to both organizations. And finally, we agreed on a manual, the creation of a manual on the role of the parliaments in the intercultural and interfaith dialogue in order to foster the creation of tolerant and inclusive societies. And IPU, having recognized our offer to the promotion of the interfaith dialogue and freedom and of religion and convictions the world over, included us in the Marrakesh meeting some days ago, where we were represented by Ioannis Sarakiotis, our colleague, and he talked to us about it and told us, informed us about it yesterday. At the I.A.O. wants to create a net of international cooperation schemes with agencies from all the world that share the same values as ours. Of course, we need to mention our efforts with agencies and bodies and organizations of the Muslim world around the value of otherness. In this framework, we, of course, assess as positive the representation of the Parliamentary Union of the member states of the Islamic Cooperation Organization. Of course, we are sorry that there has not been the same, similar or equal participation right for the I.A.O. by taking the statute of permanent observant in the works of PUIG. Mr. Sijani, the Deputy Secretary General of this organization, always comes with the feeling of mutual understanding, and his presence always makes us more optimistic for the activation of the agreement that we have signed since 2005. And this, I suppose, could contribute to the lifting of any obstacles into our cooperation with this organization. And speaking of the Muslim world, it would be an omission not to mention cooperation that we are trying to consolidate with the MWL that is seated in Saudi Arabia. To date, and after a lot of work, we have finalized the MOU text that will be signed jointly by the two organizations, and the necessary visits have taken place. In this is an important pact that will set the institutional basis for our cooperation. In September 2021, Alicia, the Sheikh Alicia, was going to visit with a numerous delegation for the signature of the memorandum. But this visit was postponed, and I personally went to Riyadh together with Dr. Mygdalis upon the Sheikh's invitation in order to set the basis of our future work. And in fact, during this visit, the Sheikh expressed his admiration for our organization and its work, and expressed his will to continue having good relationships with us. On the 1st of October 2021, there was a formal visit to the seat of I.A.O. by the representation of the World Muslim Muslim League, but we have not been able to meet again ever since in order to discuss the finalization and full implementation of the MOU between us. But it is one of our top priorities for the future. Now, contacts with the religious leadership of the Orthodox and Catholic Church. We are very proud because over the last few years we have multiplied our contacts with the religious leadership of the Orthodox Church. We made a visit to Fanar in order to meet with His All Holiness, the Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew in June 2022 and assist the Divine Liturgy on the Sunday of Pentecost. And the Archbishop of Ohrid, Stephanos, was also there. And that opened up, we believe, the way for the resolution of the thorny ecclesiastical issue of North Macedonia. Vulpescu and other colleagues from North Macedonia were there. At the same time, we're trying to have regular contacts with the primates of the thrones of the ancient patriarchates of the Orthodox Church. In this framework, and having gone to Jerusalem just before Easter in order to bring the Holy Light back to Greece, I had a visit with the General Secretary and meeting with His Beatitude Patriarch of His Beatitude Theophilo. Anyway, we have an open gate with Africa thanks to our bridge that is no other than John of Zambia, Metropolitan of Zambia, John. One could say that unfortunately had to leave very soon and unexpectedly because of the demise of another metropolitan in Uganda. We could say that the creation of a good relationship of our organization with the Orthodox Church is a given, but we must not oversimplify. We need to be careful and always maintain the equilibrium in an always and ever-changing geopolitical environment for the benefit of the ecumenicity of Orthodoxy. And as I.A.O, we had contacts with the Roman Catholic Church, always in the spirit of cooperation in crucial sectors such as the Hagia Sophia or the protection of the Christians of the Middle East. So far in my tenure, I had the opportunity to meet Pope Francis twice, and during our audition in August 2022 with Mr. Mygdalis and together with Avato, we had the opportunity to hand him the volume about the Saint Sophia churches and let him inform him about the international campaign of the I.A.O. We have developed relations with a plethora of organizations of the Catholic world, the International Network of Catholic Legislators, the ICLN, the COMECE, the CEC, the Committee of European Churches, the Together for Europe organization for Kolari, and so on and so forth. But we shall discuss this action later today. public interventions of the I.A.O. In view of international developments. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been trying over the last years to be more and more public in our interventions, and we try to always launch appeals in all directions for the alignment with the principles and values of international law. We are against, and we declare it, we're against situations that are not conducive to the prosperity of our peoples, and we have been very against from the outset the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And on the 28th of February 2022, we issued a declaration expressing our concern, asking the international community to intervene with all the diplomatic means it has in order for peace to prevail, that Europe has been safeguarding zealously for the last 8 decades. We declared our solidarity with the Ukrainian people, calling on both sides to avoid escalation. Unfortunately, war is still raging. I must here say that our organization reacted immediately during the enmities between Armenia and Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh, and during the Spring International Secretariat of March 2021, I was authorized to draft a declaration for the protection of Christian monuments in an area where a frozen war is raging. And we expressed our support for the decision of the 7th of December 2021 of the International Court of Hague for the injunction measures to be taken in order to implement the International Convention for the lifting of all forms of racial discriminations, in which the court showed to Azerbaijan, told Azerbaijan to take all the necessary measures for the prevention and suppression of acts of vandalism and desecration. We are expecting with great interest the final decision of the International Court for the final resolution of this interstate difference in favor, finally, of peace between the two peoples. In January 2023, we went back to the open wound of Southern Caucasus with a new declaration, and we wanted to have a new, and we had an invitation for a new meeting with the ambassador in Athens, but I thought that of Azerbaijan, but it was institutionally and ethically, I think, correct to turn down the invitation. And we also have we can talk about the intervention that we carried out on the 13th of January 22 in common with the President of the General Assembly, in consideration with the challenges and provocations that faces the Patriarchate, the old Patriarchate of Jerusalem. In fact, the I.A.O. in a communiqué expressed its opposition to any form of attempt to disturb the property statutes of the old Patriarchate of Jerusalem. I know that dear colleagues that I have spoken long. It may have been tiring for you, but given COVID, given the Russian-Ukrainian war, well, we had a lot to share with you. So I will give you the floor, and then we will come back with our financial report and program of our future activities. Thank you very much for your patience.
I will first give the floor to Mr. Mygdalis for some remarks, and whoever would like to take the floor, please let us know. Ladies and gentlemen, members of Parliament, in this very long report of past activities presented by the Secretary General, I would like to point out a few things, just as food for thought. What can we consider? What can we highlight? First of all, the return of the Parliament of Georgia, which is very important. It has come back to our organization. We do have the Parliament of Georgia back. Second, a remarkable activity assisting the activities of the Secretariat by the Cypriot delegation with Panicos Leonidou as the leader, which supports the activities of the Secretariat. And then Romania. For the first time, Romania comes out of the status and opens up and supports the Secretariat, and we are in constant contact. We also foresee a very good future with Hungary. It seems we are going to have a delegation and a contribution from Hungary. Furthermore, in Bulgaria, I can see that the new leadership, the new delegation, under your leadership, Mr. Tcholakov, seems to be ready for a very substantive and meaningful contribution and activity. Lebanon has come back to the organization quite dynamically in Cyprus. However, now, unfortunately, there are many impediments there in terms of electing President of the Republic, so they didn't manage to join us here in the General Assembly, but it seems that they are back. Then Jordan have paid their contribution, and now we shall try to see in Jordan or Egypt to organize, to hold our next Secretariat meeting. And finally, North Macedonia. It seems that North Macedonia is ready to join our activities. This is just a summary for you to keep in mind. This is the current situation, which is quite encouraging. Second, something very important that I need to point out. The organization has worked hard and it has produced the policies and the political opinions, political positions. And actually, those positions became the vehicle on which the disturbed or disrupted unity of the Orthodox can step on. I mean, our organization is being transformed and it is becoming an entity of political unity in times where the landscape is quite disrupted. The initiative that we've taken, both for Hagia Sophia and also our involvement in the dialogue for the future of Europe, were purely political initiatives, which have borne fruit because they secure, they ensure, they maintain the unity of the Orthodox, and they also show to the churches or any other public or audience, they prove that Orthodoxy can express itself in unity, in a united way, and even beyond the churches. And even the way we handled the troubled times with the war in Ukraine, and with what the Secretary General is going to suggest later on, I think we will be able to secure a smooth and untroubled future, so that this disruption in the relations of the Orthodox will not affect our future cooperation. I have to confess that I'm very happy, I'm very pleased that the way the organization is today and how it appears on the international arena. I think that if we are cautious and willing to be active, our organization will have a bright future. Thank you. We thank the advisor, Mr. Mygdalis, for this remark. Now, a colleague from Albania, Mr. Vangelis Doule, has asked for the floor. He's also a member of the World Hellenic International Association, PABSEC. Honorable Secretary General, advisors, colleagues, allow me to express my appreciation for the work of the Interparliamentary Assembly on Orthodoxy after the General Assembly held on Crete. This work is evidence of our efforts in the tough times after the end of the lockdown measures and just before the war in Ukraine. It is true that the presence of the I.A.O. becomes sensed in all countries where there is ground for such activities. But at the same time, I would like to point out that we need to pay more attention to the promotion of this work. So if you observe, and also with our experience from participation in other organizations. So if we observe yesterday's meeting of the I.A.O. here in Chalkidiki, so objectively and impartially, one can see that it was full of content. It was very meaningful. It was full of ideas and views and content. But you see, this content should not be just limited among the delegations, the participating delegations. Mr. Mygdalis, we have to take one step further, and we actually need more imagination in order for these ideas and these messages, which are most desirable in today's dialogue, are not just restricted here, because the I.A.O. can share all those messages. So it has to share this content with other organizations. Although initially it might seem that they would not be accepted there. But then I would like to refer to another issue which is quite local for Albania, but it is also common for all of us because it has to do with the values that we are discussing. in our General Assembly. So our colleague, Mr. Polo, said that yesterday, and also our Secretary General, Mr. Charakopoulos, talked about the arrest and detention of the elected mayor, Dionysios Alfred, the mayor of Himara. What happened was that we had the municipal elections in Albania lately. If you don't know, let me tell you, in Albania we have a major problem concerning fair elections. The country has not managed, after the collapse of the totalitarian regime, has not managed to hold a transparent and fair election process with outcomes, results that will be accepted by all sides. However, in those elections, in the last elections, a couple of days before, the candidate mayor and then elected mayor of Himara was arrested with a charge of pre-election corruption without any evidence at all. So far, there has been no evidence of such corruption. The Albanian authorities claimed that this was an arrest in red-handed, in flagrant act. We all know that this arrest in flagrant act means with the product of a criminal act. But he was arrested in midnight after a dinner that he had with his attorney and some relative, some family member. So after that arrest, which has no legal grounds and no evidence at all, he is still detained. He has been detained for more than 50 days. Without even allowing him to be sworn in according to the proceedings. So, it is with arbitrariness and arrogance that the Albanian Prime Minister, who is the organizer of this arrest, aims at appropriating the mayorship of the community of Himara, where most of the members are members of the Greek minority. Albania has 61 municipalities. The government party has taken 54 municipalities. The main opposition, where I am part, has only won 7. And one of the 7 elected mayors is still detained in the prisons. I would not like to say more on this. I would just like to ask for your support and assistance, and most of all, I would like you to share with your fellow citizens in your countries that a state which is a candidate state to join the EU is still applying practices that have nothing to do with liberal democracy. And it is just the bitter legacy of the past and the totalitarian regime. And you can realize that with such a mindset and with such practices, the course towards accession to the EU will be very difficult, very tough. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to your support and assistance. Thank you. We thank the colleague from Albania, Mr. Doules. Indeed, yesterday, the former MP and experienced colleague for years, Mr. Polo, has indeed raised the same matter that you raised today about the detention and imprisonment of the elected mayor of Himara, Mr. Belleri. As I said before, when I was referring to the European prospect of the Balkan countries, of course this cannot be done if the EU acquis is compromised and respect for the rule of law has to be observed. And the detention of the mayor is not just a violation of human rights, it is also a violation of all sorts of justice and law. And we hope that this will be realized by the Albanian leadership, and we hope that he is freed and allowed to fulfill the duties entrusted to him by democratic procedures from the majority of the inhabitants of his municipality. Our treasurer is the Deputy Minister for Rural Development, as I said before, so he has recently taken over and he will have to be informed, and there is a whole series of affairs, payments to farmers and fishers are being made these days, so he has to be at the ministry. We thank him for getting into the trouble to come here even for one day. So please, let's interrupt the remarks of colleagues and give the floor to the Treasurer for the economic report, for the financial report and planning. And then we can make comments on this or approve it if there are no remarks, so that he can be discharged and so that he can go back to his duties in the ministry. So our Treasurer, Mr. Stavros Keletsis, has the floor. Secretary General, dear colleagues, first of all, I apologize for having not been able to attend the opening ceremony. Actually, I had planned to be here on Thursday when you opened the works of the Assembly, but the developments, as Mr. Charakopoulos just mentioned, have not allowed me to join you on Thursday. I just arrived late yesterday evening from Athens to present the financial report. And then you will allow me to go back because these are difficult days. I have to be in the ministry even during the weekend. Anyway, concerning the financial report, I think you have received in your file the report of the chartered auditor, where you see the total expenditure in the period from the 2nd of September until the 1st of June 2023, which is 398,066 euro and 13 cents. Furthermore, there is an amount of 127,366 euro, which is the advance payments for the preparation of the 30th anniversary General Assembly. You will see in the same report that the parliaments of Greece, Cyprus, Armenia, Georgia, Serbia, Romania and Bulgaria have already paid the contributions provided for in our statute. And let me inform you here that in early June, also the parliaments of North Macedonia and Jordan have also paid in their contributions. These two contributions will be reflected in the next audit. Since the 29th General Assembly in June 2022 has not taken place, in our last meeting of the International Secretariat in Cyprus, we presented a budget of 266,000 for the period from March 1 until June 2023, that is until the 30th General Assembly. As the Secretary General explained, because of the events in Russia, the non-payment of the Russian contribution forces us to follow a shorter budget in order to follow the costs of the organization step by step. So for the period from the 1st of June until October 2023, we have budgeted the amount of 201,000 euro for the following activities that will be also mentioned by the Secretary General: the payment of the expenses for the 30th General Assembly, participation in a conference in Rimini, Italy, presentation of the volume of Hagia Sophia in Albania, North Macedonia, Germany, US, and also the meeting of the International Secretariat in Cairo early October. So based on our statutory documents and the decisions of previous General Assemblies, the Financial Committee, as you know, has the responsibility and the competence of overseeing the reflection of our costs in our financial documents. This process needs to be clear and understandable for readers and ensure transparency of our organization. The members of the committee, because of the well-known procedural problem, have studied on the individually the report of the chartered accountant, the auditor, and asked me to ask all of you, all members of the General Assembly, to approve the report and discharge all those in charge from any responsibility. So this is the end of the report and the budget until next October. And here, please allow me a personal reference. But let's first ask, do we approve the financial report and the budget? Yes. Okay, thank you. So please allow me now a personal reference. My participation in this assembly has been quite short, of course, but I have to say that through this process I made new friends, all of you. A part of the colleagues, of course, because I do have very strong friendship bonds with the colleagues, but I was also connected with our advisors, Alexander and Mr. Mygdalis, who are doing a great job, and without their contribution, this assembly would not be able to work so successfully. Anyway, when you meet in Athens, I hope you will allow me to join, even if I'm not a member of the Assembly. I will always try to join your meetings because I love you. I view all of you as friends. And I wish that the journey of the organization for the next 30 years will be equally successful. And may God help us to stop this war between two Christian peoples, because it is very painful for all of us, so that things get back to normal and a smooth operation of our assembly. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you have given me in this period, and I wish every success to all members of the assembly. We also wanted to thank our good colleague and treasurer of our organization so far, Mr. Keletsis. We are very sorry that we will not have his valuable services in the future, but we do share the pleasure of his participation in the government, and we wish him good luck with everything he will be doing in the future. And of course, he will be given the anniversary icon that we have printed out on the occasion of our 30th anniversary. which is from the Holy Sepulchre, which is the symbol of unity for all Christians, an engraving.